It's funny that my first video that went unexpectedly viral showed everything I did over 7 or 8 years in just 12 minutes. I want to continue to share the updates I make on my land and my trailer, but please know that my pace is still very slow. In my last video, I showed you that we demoed the old kitchen and that I purchased 2 huge windows to replace in the future living room. My new windows are double paned and insulated with argon gas. I think I got them for $417 each, but I also had to pay $150 to get them delivered to my very remote location. After that expense, I did have to wait a bit before I could afford to have Matt and Scott install them. But then the spring snowstorms came and we just couldn't cut holes in the trailer. I probably rushed into action when I should have been more patient. We ended up living through blizzards in a tin can, and I used up so much propane. Then my driveway became almost impossible in the spring thaw. As we were running out of propane with an inaccessible driveway, I actually thought we might have to temporarily move out of this trailer or haul in a lot of electric heaters. But amazingly, my propane provider took the risk of driving up my driveway to fill my tank. I am so grateful. It is an expensive mistake on my part, but we turned the thermostat down to 50 and we used radiant heaters in our bedrooms. I appreciate so much that people are posting that I'm brave to take this risk and to do something that I guess looks scary and difficult or uncomfortable. But that comment actually feels so strange to me because my experience is that what I'm doing is actually easier and more comfortable and even sometimes fun compared to what I imagine others are doing or what I was trying to do before. All of that comfort I used to have feels a lot more like a terrifying trap as I look back on it. My belief that luxury and material comfort would bring me happiness was one of the stories that was making me really sick. It didn't work at all for me. Taking the risk to step out of that trap was worth it. Now my life is simpler, more self-reliant, and more fun. Now I actually feel more comfortable. I didn't have running water here for years, but we humans have been hauling water for most of our history. You can buy 10 gallons at Walmart for $1 a gallon. Cooking on a $40 propane camp stove outside is no different from cooking in your kitchen, and it's actually usually more fun. Learning how to make a composting toilet from van dwellers posting on YouTube is easy. I promise you do not care that you are using a composting toilet when your kid is having fun dancing around a campfire in the woods every night. But because we demoed the kitchen, we did lose my kitchen sink, and now I'm doing dishes in the bathroom. I really do look forward to having a kitchen sink again, but I noticed that I was still truly appreciating having hot running water when I did my dishes in the bathroom. I remember reading a study that feeling appreciation is a more important factor in determining our quality of life. I wasn't a naturally appreciative person, but after I hauled water for years, it seems that just having running hot water elicits that feeling from me. I don't need to actually practice gratitude now. It arrives for me like an unexpected gift. I don't know if you remember hearing that Algonquin water song that went viral in 2018, the Sing the Water. It really made me wonder then, but now it makes me cry with gratitude. I appreciate my water. I never appreciated the water before. As a therapist, I sometimes wonder if we also have the wrong idea about our anxiety. It seems like we keep thinking that anxiety is our problem. But I think that sometimes our anxiety is trying to tell us that our life is a problem. My anxiety was telling me that the way I was living was not right for me. I didn't need to get rid of my anxiety to learn how to function in that world. I had to listen to my anxiety and make a change. Over the years, I noticed that the people who choose to live out here seem to have more fun than my friends in the city. Their lives in the woods seem to include more recreation, and that recreation is usually cheap, free, or maybe even providing a needed resource. In the city, everyone seems so busy and stressed, and any self-care or respite they are trying to remember to be disciplined enough to do seems to cost even more precious time and money. There isn't ever enough of anything, and everyone seems so anxious and even increasingly angry. I think another enormous factor for me feeling better out here is the very unexpected comfort that simple self-reliance brings. It really wasn't something I was trying to do. I remember, though, when I was staying in a very expensive house in the city. The power went out in our whole area for days during a freezing ice storm. It was an immediate life-threatening emergency for many of my neighbors. We were all overwhelmed and frightened. None of us understood how our homes worked. None of us knew where to turn off the water. The way the pipes were run in our huge houses led to catastrophic devastation of some of my neighbors' homes that made them immediately uninhabitable. They had nowhere safe to go. We were all in the same crisis. Losses for many families were in the tens of thousands of dollars. I'm at risk of none of that here. My house is simple, and it doesn't overwhelm me. When my pipes were frozen this winter, I knew that they were under my house above the dirt. So even if they froze and burst, it was more like a hose leaking into my yard, and a repair would be a simple replacement of a few feet of PEX line. Doesn't that sound easier? It feels less overwhelming to me than being afraid in a big house that I can't afford and I can't understand. A child recently disclosed to me that they had been flushing heavy-duty baby wipes down my toilet. This was pretty unnerving, but as I thought it through, I finally realized I only have one straight sewer line that goes from my toilet to my septic. It's easily accessible in my crawl space. My drains have slowed down, but I do understand where the problem must be, and I understand how to fix it. And that child is about to learn how to snake a sewer line. I do not have a naturally good mechanical aptitude. I've had to learn everything. When I first moved into a tiny RV 15 years ago, I would feel so overwhelmed when something stopped working. But with books and help from others over time, I very slowly have learned how things work. I usually forget what I learned and I have to review. But at least now I no longer feel a sense of overwhelm and anxiety when something stops working. Now I know that I can review and remember how to tackle this likely very simple problem. As a therapist, I hear so many women who are struggling with anxiety. But with greater frequency, I'm starting to think, there's absolutely nothing psychologically wrong with this woman. But there is something catastrophically wrong with the system she is trying to live in. It seems like people are getting to the point where they're just paralyzed with anxiety, and they're becoming less capable of taking any risks. I don't know the root cause, but I know I hear women in my private practice say to me, I shouldn't do that. You know it's a risk. Somehow our story of risk has changed from something we used to know we had to embrace to now something we think we have a responsibility to avoid. Women seem to feel they are deserving of blame and shame if they suffer some consequence as a result of taking a risk. How oppressive. No wonder people feel so trapped. If you think about the entire history of our humanity, especially the immigrants that colonized lands abroad, they always chose to live with extreme risks. And I wonder if we could remember these stories of our ancestors. Most of our ancestors took huge risks that most of us think that we admire. I know that mine took the risk of leaving Scandinavia and making a life in the woods up here. One thing I know is that taking the risk of simplicity and self-reliance feels worth it to me. Now, if my power goes out or if I lose my water, it's so much easier because I've made these my own problems to solve. I actually feel way too afraid if I'm living with those really complicated and expensive luxuries. What if they break and I don't know how to manage them myself? It seems that my journey towards peace was to learn how to manage increasingly minimal requirements of my life and to continue to tolerate my very frequent mistakes. Instead of adding expensive luxuries, I'm pretty tyrannical about not introducing things that have to be managed and maintained. The mechanics of my trailer are pretty simple to understand. I don't want a dishwasher. I don't want an electric snowblower. I don't want expensive things that break. My life is easier when I demand simplicity. I do look forward to installing a wood cook stove. I have so many trees that have fallen on my property, and I can process those into firewood. We can cook, bake, and stay warm no matter what happens. Now I understand that my task was not to fix my problem of anxiety in that complicated and expensive world. My job is to continue to learn how to simply provide for myself in closer relationship with our natural world. I am barely there. So many people that live near me are self-reliant in ways that leave me in awe. But they're welcoming and willing to share their knowledge. It's obviously a very slow process for me, but it's also fun. My neighbors are teaching me how to make maple syrup. My goal is to tap our maple trees next year. My friend Linda laughed at me when I reminded her I didn't know which trees were the sugar maple trees. She said she would walk my property with me and help me mark the ones that I should tap. Maple syrup can serve as our sugar, and I use it for quick pickling. This is so much fun, and it is actually providing something for us that we can use. One of my favorite lines in the Tao is, "In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped." I am still trying hard to drop things. I finally got my 2 big windows installed this week. The guys had to cut everything out and reframe with 2x4s. Now I can sit at these windows and watch the bald eagles fish in the lake and carry those huge branches back to their nest. The awe I feel when they fly past my trailer with a fish or a giant branch in their talons never fades. I'm watching the fishermen in the bay. This is better than any relaxation or entertainment I would need to pay for in the city. It all feels miraculous every single time. It's still pretty cold in here without insulation, but I still feel so grateful. So it seems, for me at least, that finding freedom from anxiety and overwhelm required that I let go of almost everything I thought I was supposed to be doing. I guess it was a risk, but the comfort I feel is priceless. I had too much before. It was more than I could handle. And that life is so scary. Now I have a very simple house and a very simple life that I can more easily manage, personally and financially. What a luxury.
Nibi,
Nibi,
Wabo,
Wabo,
Endayan,
Endayan,